Gugan? Gugan, I have joined. Gugan, are you there?
Yeah, your voice is audible, Dr. Bhunesh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, the meeting is started or not? Please, anybody help me?
Good afternoon to one and all. The meeting will be started shortly by 3:20 p.m. Due to the guest non-availability of guest speaker, the meeting will be shortly by 3:20 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Good.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Pa. Shall we start the program?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon to one and all. On behalf of All India Agriculture Students Association, I welcome you one and all for this guest lecture and training program on climate modeling. All India Agriculture Students Association works for the welfare of the students in all the arena. Hello. Hello. All India Agriculture Students Association works for the welfare of 1 million students and agriculture professionals in the field of agriculture, horticulture, engineering, forestry, and other allied sector in close coordination and cooperation with the agriculture universities. The association mainly works for the social upliftment and enabling members for developing its leadership quality and provides guidelines to the rural youth, especially in the job opportunities. On the eve of a World Day to combat desertification and drought, All India Agriculture Students Association, a state environmental cell, is organizing a climate model training come guest lecture. First of all, I welcome you all for this program. On behalf of Aisha Tamil Nadu, I welcome our Chief Policy Advisor, Dr. Sagadev Singh sir, and our National General Secretary and our National Secretary GC, and the today's Chief Guest, Dr. V. Geeta Lakshmi Madam, the Director Crop Management, for this occasion. And now I call upon Dr. Bhuvaneshwari to give glimpses and outline about the program. Hello, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari.
Sorry, without unmuting my mic, I was speaking. Good afternoon to all. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak in this forum. I am K. Bhuvaneshwari from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore, the Deputy Chairman, State Environmental Cell. At the outset, I am very much thankful to AISA for electing me as the Deputy Chairman, State Environmental Cell, and providing me an opportunity to serve the students' community. Students community, and it gives me an immense pleasure to be a part of AISA. I am very much delighted to welcome you all to this program. I am very much delighted to welcome our chief guest for today, our Madam Dr. V. Geeta Lakshmi, the Director, Crop Management, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore, for inaugurating this training wing and delivering the guest lecture. I extend my sincere thanks to Madam for accepting, readily accepting our invitation and presiding over this event. Actually, I am very happy to welcome all the participants who are all connected virtually to this event. In agriculture, we know to answer so many questions, we need to conduct multiple experiments, which are all expensive at the same time consuming. So in this context, dynamic model, process-based models are playing a major role, as it can simulate the many number of experiments on desktop, and it can quickly give the results for our numerous experiments which we are interested to conduct. And also, please, someone is talking in between. Can you switch off your mic? Thank you. Nowadays, the models, the dynamic model, the process-based model, any kind of models, all models are gaining momentum, and it is being used worldwide for many number of applications. The model can be employed in numerous ways, like for taking strategic and tactical decisions, and resource management, and enhancing the farm productivity. And also these models are majorly helpful for framing the adaptation strategies in the event of climate change. Considering all the broad range of applications of models, we aim to give the trainings to the students on climatological models. As we see, for attending any training program being organized we need to pay more, means we need to give a considerable amount for attending the program. So to avoid this, we thought it would be great to create a platform, free platform, means free training platform for the benefit of the students community. So successfully we are here to inaugurate this training wing. We are encouraging all the students to participate actively in the upcoming trainings and also learn and get familiarized with different kind of models. In this training program, we will deal with many aspects, including agriculture and environment, such as climate analysis for agriculture planning and risk management, crop system models for evolving best management practices for maximizing the crop productivity, assessment of climate change impact on crop through multimodal approach, climate smart agriculture, employing the crop simulation model for enhancing the climate resilience of cropping system, weather and climate forecast for agriculture, response farming, weather-based pest and disease forewarning models, water resource modeling, relevance of agriculture to climate change mitigation, forest and environmental protection, integrated modeling for effective resource management, environmental and social management. So to cover all these topics, all this area, we are going to introduce so many models, starting from the crop simulation models, DSAT, that is the decision support system for agro technology transfer, upstream agriculture production system simulator, and infograph model, etc. As far as hydrological model concerned, we will teach you about SWOT model, that is soil and water assessment tool. That is the model simulating the hydrology over the river basis. Suppose if you want to simulate the hydrology for a smaller scale, then we can use upstream model. So that the training will be given on both models, means SWOT model and upstream model also. Then the other models like D and DC. This is the model is used for quantifying the emission from the different agro ecosystems. So training will be given on that model also. And then so many models we are using for projecting the climate. RCM means GCM. RCM means regional climate models. GCM means global climate models. So we will include all these models in our training program, as well as for downscaling the climate. We will use statistical and dynamic techniques, downscaling techniques. So these aspects also will be covered in the coming programs. And then likewise, we will introduce the automated agro advisory services for the benefit of the students as well as the farming community. So likewise, we will cover as many as models in this training program. So I would like to invite all of you to participate in this training program and make use of the opportunity effectively. And also, as the models have wider application, the students and researchers can use the models for their future research endeavors and professional careers. So I am looking forward to meeting you all in the upcoming training programs, and then we will meet you soon. Thank you. And we will communicate with all the resource persons, and we will decide the schedule. I mean, we will decide the time for conducting different training program, and we will let you know then and there. So I am asking you to keep in touch with us for more details about the upcoming programs. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you. Now
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now we call upon Dr. Sagadev Singh, sir, Chief Policy Advisor, AAS in New Delhi, to facilitate the gathering. Dr. Sagadev Singh, sir.
Good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, I thanks to Dr. Bhuvneshwari for giving details about the training program and details about this program. I, on the behalf of All India Agriculture Students Association, welcome our chief guest, Professor V. Geeta Lakshmi, Honorable Director, Crop Improvement, who has spared his valuable time for inaugurate this very important meeting and guest lecture, as well as agro climatological model training the very important aspect our state environment cell of ESA, Tamil Nadu, is conducting training program on this important aspect, and this aspect is also covered by UN Convention to combat desertification. Especially that in the government as well as public and institutions all giving emphasis for restoring our environment. Dr. Bhuvneshwari has given all details about this program, and this is very important, and this training program will definitely benefits our youth, and I look forward for discussion, training, and also other programs, and I congratulate the full team for organizing this program. Appreciate their efforts for bringing youth at common platform for benefits of all. And I that welcome all our National Secretary and many office bearers of the central and state cabinet of ESA, and appreciate the efforts of ESA Tamil Nadu as well as state environmental cell. And finally, I thanks to our chief guest, Professor Geeta Lakshmi, who has really come at this platform to deliver the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Before going to the guest lecture, I would like to give a small introduction about our guest and the speaker today. Dr. V. Geeta Lakshmi, she is one of the well-renowned agro-meteorologists in India. She received many international and national and state level awards, and she also handled many international and national schemes. And Madam Geeta Lakshmi is always working for the students' welfare, and she is the person who is motivating all our students' activities, and he is also the person to provide more number of fellowships to the PhD and MSc students. And now we call upon Dr. V. Geeta Lakshmi to deliver guest lecture and inaugurate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Guhan, for giving a wonderful introduction about me. And good afternoon to all of you who have joined in this forum. And I'm really happy about the initiative taken by ISA, and it's really great because when I heard from Dr. Bhuvaneshwari that the entire gamut of agricultural meteorology is going to be covered through different training programs, it is a great opportunity for all the attendees who can learn basics of agricultural meteorology and also the modeling and also the application part of it, which is very, very important. And in another next 50 years, this agriculture meteorology, especially the changing climatic condition, is going to be on the top priority, because we are seeing that each and every year is becoming one of the important year in terms of weather and climate. Especially when we just looked at the just a year history, if we just take back, this year we had unseasonal rainfall. During the month of January, especially in Tamil Nadu, we never receive rainfall. Maybe in very freak years, 1 or 2 days rainfall we used to get it during a cold weather period. But this year, the northeast monsoon was extending, and it almost the whole of Jan we were getting good amount of rainfall. It actually was advantageous for in one way, and it was mainly disadvantageous in many other ways. So weather and climate plays a major role as far as crop production and food security is concerned, and modeling what is going to happen at different time slices, maybe in a few days time, like starting from short range weather forecast to medium range weather forecast to long range, and then to kind of a climate forecast. It is very, very important to make decisions and plans at a different point of time. For example, if the government wants to make some investment plan, definitely they need to know what is going to happen 5 years down the lane, 10 years down the lane, and also on the long-term basis. But at the same time, a farmer might be very much interested to know what would happen in next 2 or 3 days time, or at least next week, what is going to happen. Based on that, he can do some practical decisions like intercultural operations, sowing decision, and then the harvesting decisions, and so on. So almost seamless weather forecast information should be available to the stakeholders for using at different times and different kind of decisions. So this becomes important. And the second important thing is the greenhouse gas emission and concentrations are going on increasing. So in that particular case, what is happening is we need to really curtail the greenhouse gas emission, and then we need to look into like what the climate change is happening and how it could be managed, what are the adaptation packages that we need to think of. So in that line, what impacts the agriculture sector is going to have on the changing climatic conditions. So that's what I'm thinking of speaking with the gathering today. And at this juncture, I like to thank all the organizers, and also I like to thank all the office bearers who have given me this opportunity to interact with all of you. And with these few words, I would like to share my screen and make the presentation. Gugan, could you please give me screen sharing permission? Please give me screen sharing permission. Bhuvaneshwari.
Ma'am, Bhuvan is the organizer, ma'am. He has to read that, ma'am.
So I'm not able. Yeah, now it is coming.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So you are able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. We are seeing.
Okay. So the topic for today's discussion I'm taking is climate change and its impact on agriculture. And to give a brief background, so India's population is around 1.3 billion population, we all know, and the population growth rate is 1.13%. Now the recent statistics says that it is still higher. Every year population growth rate is almost 1.3% per annum. If that be the case, India would double its population maybe in 2060s itself. We were expecting that the doubling of population would happen towards the end of the century, but the way in which the population growth rate is going, we may double the population in around the 2060s as far as India is concerned. So in that, 67% of the population is living in the rural situation, and the rest is in the urban condition. So the 67% of the people who are living in rural area, they are mainly engaged in agriculture sector, either direct way or indirect way. Agriculture, it contributes almost 15% of the GDP, and the workers' share is 50%, but the GDP contribution is only 15%. There are two major cropping seasons as far as India is concerned. We all know one is Kharif season, which is the entire India is enjoying from June to September. This coincides with the major monsoon season, southwest monsoon season, and the second season is Rabi season, which is actually coinciding with the winter season, that is October to January. So this is the major two cropping seasons that is happening all over India. Mainly, if we just see, 86% of the farmers belong to the category of small and marginal farmers who are having less than 2 hectares of land area. And the major crops, if we take into consideration, in the southern India, it is rice. In the northern India, it is wheat. And other than that, maize, coarse cereals, groundnut, cotton, sugarcane, fruits, vegetables, etc., etc. Because we have got a diverse ecosystem and we have got diversified climatic conditions. So that actually paves way for many crops that become suitable for the Indian subcontinent conditions. And if we just look into the cultivated area, more than 60% of the area comes under the rain-fed cultivation. So around 40% area is only under irrigated condition. So which means the risk in crop production is very high, because always the rain-fed condition, the rainfall is not very certain as far as India is concerned. And moreover, agriculture is a state subject. In other words, all the policies of individual state government are very, very important as far as agriculture sector is concerned. So this is a brief background about the Indian agriculture. Okay, now let us just see what are the challenges for sustainable agriculture. The challenges is abundant food insecurity. When we just see around 200 million people are food insecure. The recent statistic says that around 200 million people are food insecure. And demand for food will increase. So when we just look into what is the consumption pattern, if we just project in the future, the demand for food will be increasing, especially in the days to come. Already we are food insecure. At the same time, the demand for food will also increase. So unsustainable use of natural resources, mainly soil and also water. These are the two things we are very much unsustainably using. Just to quote an example, in the soils, we have now coolly forgotten the application of organic manure. We are going for all the chemical farming, which leads to loss of biodiversity in the soil. So what is happening is all the microbial population, earthworm population, everything is getting declined. And because of that, the soil has become sterile. The productivity and the soil health is decreasing. The water holding capacity of the soil is decreasing. So we have to definitely take into consideration of improving the soil health. The second major issue is water. When we just look into the water, the people are drilling water from the underground sources, and the depth of the water table is going on declining. And through bore wells, even 1,000 feet and more, the people are drilling, and then they are taking water from the underground sources. So we are not only sucking the water, but the water also is becoming saline. It is taking the salts that are present underground and putting it on the top of the soil. So that also creates a lot of problem. So unsustainable use of water as well as soil need to be prevented in all the ways. 60% of the ecosystem services are degraded already. And in intensive agriculture, this depends on high energy, that leads to more GHG emission. So the carbon dioxide concentration, it was 280 ppm in the pre-industrial era, that has now become 416 ppm as of now. So this again changes. When you just go to the urban area, it is still further higher. In the rural area, it is close to 410 ppm. So this is the level of increase in GHG emission into the atmosphere. Agriculture is insufficiently prepared to cope with unpredictable and adaptation to climate change. So we need to make the people, we need to make the stakeholders to face the changing climatic condition, at the same time adjust with the changing weather patterns. So number of farmers in India, that there is a decrease in the number of farmers in India. Especially, this is one of the very interesting figure. You can just see total number of farmers in 2001 was so much, but there is a 7.1% decrease in farmers in about a decade's time. So, but at the same time, it is heartening to note that the total number of farm laborers are increasing. So the cultivators become laborers because of the changing climatic conditions and also fragmentation of holding. So this also is one of the disadvantages factor that is happening in India. So these are the main challenges that increase the productivity of agriculture in sustainable manner. If you just see, there are three major divisions we are keeping. One is social challenges, second one is economic challenges, third one is environmental challenges. Coming to social challenges, it is health, gender, and then tradition, social and cultural related issues. Whereas coming to the economic, it is income, marketing, and trade related issues. And in the case of environment, soil, water, climate, and biodiversity. In the cross-cutting areas, the food production is governed by cultivation and commercialization of traditional foods, and also use of diversified inputs, and then valuation of environmental services. So these becomes the intersectoral kind of aspects. So then when we just see the GHG emission from agriculture sector, agriculture contributes mainly for we cannot compare with the industrial sector, but agriculture also sizably contributes to the greenhouse gas emission. So when we just look into that, which is the most important thing, first one is the methane emission. So the methane emission that is happening due to enteric fermentation from the cattle, and also the second important thing is nitrous oxide emission that is actually coming out from the fertilizer, misuse of fertilizer or overuse of fertilizer. And you know very well, the nitrous oxide is one of the noxious gas. When you just compare it with the carbon dioxide, just one molecule of nitrous oxide is equivalent to 297 molecules of carbon dioxide. So that's why the emission potential is so high because of the overuse of fertilizer. And not only that, the biomass burning, you know, like in northern India, especially the straw burning is a highest problem, which creates health issues and so on. So all those things need to be really, the people need to be sensitized to protect our environment by preventing such faulty practices. Okay, now coming to average temperature in India by cropping season, just what is happening because of the increase in greenhouse gas emission. You can just see during Kharif season and during Rabi season, what is happening to the temperature when we compare to something like over the years, what is happening, we can just see from something like 1970 to 2000 or so, what is happening is, you can just see the temperature is increasing. The trend, if you just see both Kharif and Rabi season, the temperature is increasing. So the increase is from the 1970, the current decade increase is about 0.45 degrees and 0.63 degrees in Kharif and Rabi season. So in the Rabi season, which is supposed to be the cold season, there the temperature increase is higher. This will impact many crops. Some of the crops like apple are very sensitive, especially in the Kullu Valley side and also in the Kashmir side and all. Apple production is very, very important. If the temperature increases, then naturally the flowering pattern, bud breaking pattern, everything will change, and that will lead to reduction in apple production. Especially wheat production will also get impacted. So many other changes will happen, especially for the cold loving crops. Next one is average precipitation in India. In one side, the temperature is increasing, but on the other side, when you just see the trend line, this is the source from the India Meteorological Department, both in Kharif season and in Rabi season, compared to 1970, the rainfall is decreasing, the precipitation is decreasing. It is very, very important to note that not only the quantum of precipitation, but also the distribution of precipitation is also varying very much. I've experienced in one of our study regions in very close to Coimbatore district, the rainfall was quantum wise very much normal, but distribution wise it was skewed. And you know, in the northeast monsoon season, June, July, there was no rainfall at all. In August, within 1 week, the total quantum of rainfall that has to fall in the August, in the rainy season, that fell within 1 week. That means when we just look into the quantum of rainfall, it is normal, but at the same time, that was not normal agricultural year. So these kind of extremities are happening, and the frequency is also increasing. So this is one of the important factors that we need to note it. this is very, very important slide. Coming to the projections of carbon dioxide, there are so many scenarios. So many climatic scenarios we are thinking of, RCP scenarios, representative concentration pathway scenarios. So we are just looking out with 4 important scenarios. One scenario is low emission scenario, which is RCP 2.6, which is not going to happen the way our society is behaving. And the next 2 scenarios, that is RCP 4.5 and RCP 6. These 2 scenarios are stabilization scenarios. And the last scenario is overshoot scenario, which is RCP 8.5. So based on these scenarios, the carbon dioxide is projected to increase, and it is projected to increase up to 600 to 650 ppm with the overshoot scenario. And then in the stabilization scenario, around 500 ppm of carbon dioxide concentration can be expected towards the end of the century. And even with the low emission scenario, it will be something around close to 400 ppm. So with this carbon dioxide increase, the entire climatic pattern is going to change. Okay. What effects it will have? Some of the effects of global warming on agriculture sectors. What would be the effect? Let's just take few effects. One is the loss of fertile coastal lands because of the rising of sea level. We are saying that the temperatures are going to increase. When we just look into what will happen to the future temperature, most of the models are saying that it is going to become hot, dry climatic condition. If that be the case, normally all the permanent glaciers would melt and then it would come into the ocean. That will increase the sea level. So there will be rise in sea level. If there is a rise in sea level, just by few centimeters, it will engulf few kilometers of land area, which is very fertile agricultural land area along the coastline. So this is one of the important effect. The second important effect is loss of biodiversity in fragile environment of tropical forest. So the species diversity will change, the growth pattern will change. And the third important thing is increased frequency of weather extremes like floods and droughts. I was just explaining there was a quantum of rainfall was good, but at the same time, it was skewed distribution. So that will lead to both the drought-like situation and flood-like situation in the same season. Both of them are not good for agriculture. Then the fourth important thing is pests and diseases. Right now we are experiencing so many pest and disease problem in agriculture, especially the pest that was very minor. Those pests will become major pests in the future days to come. So the behavior and the feeding pattern, everything will change. So some of the pests will become uncontrollable. One good example is fall armyworm, which has migrated from Africa to the central India, now to the southern India. Now it is moving towards Australia also. So this kind of fall armyworm in maize and many other polyphagous, it is a polyphagous pest. So these kind of pests will definitely make problems to agriculture sector. And another important pest recently on the plantation crops, especially on the coconut, is rugose spiraling whitefly. That is also becoming uncontrollable, and almost in many areas, the coconut production is very much going down. Similarly, another polyphagous pest, this is mealybug. So mealybug was 2-3 years back, that was the biggest problem to control, but now people have managed with some parasites and so on. So these kind of things, the pest and disease problems are going to be so vital, and that will decide on many factors in agriculture. And more unpredictable farming condition in the tropical area is also expected. Okay, so like this, these are all the negative points, but there are few positive points because of the changing climatic condition. Some of the new areas will gain importance in terms of agriculture. One good example is let's say the rice crop would come up well up to 2,500 meter elevation in the current condition, means in the future condition, it might come up to 3,000 meters elevation. So that means there is an additional area that would come into cropping, especially in the higher altitudes and higher latitudes. So that is one advantage we expect because of the changing climatic condition. Other than that, mainly we are going to experience mostly problematic situation. Already agriculture is stressed, and on top of it, climate change would add more stress to the production condition. Okay, so this again, it just says that there are direct effect because of climate change on agriculture, there is indirect effect, and there is socio-economic effect leading to agricultural production vulnerability. What are the direct effects we can expect? One is there would be change in the physiology of the crop. Physiology of the crop means the growth pattern, everything will change. There will be change in phenology. Phenology is days attained for a particular crop growth stage. So the physiology of the crop would change. The duration of the crop would shrink. For example, if a crop is getting matured in 110 days, the crop would mature in future within 105 or even 100 days. So potentially the 10 to 15 days, the potential photosynthetic duration is going to be reduced because of the changing climatic condition that will lead to yield reduction. Coming to the indirect effect, the soil fertility. The soil fertility means the salinity of the soil will increase, and then the available irrigation water will shrink, pest and disease problem, floods and droughts like extreme weather events, sea level rise. These are all the indirect effects that will affect the crop production because of the changing climatic condition. Coming to the socio-economic, the demand for food, cost and benefit, climate change related policies, trade, and farmers' response would also change. So everything put together, the agriculture becomes highly vulnerable. So this is projected impact of climate change on agricultural yield. You can just see the Indian subcontinent, which I'm just showing it with the mouse. If you just see in the southern India and up to the middle, that is up to the central India, there is going to be reduction in the production up to 16% or so, 15-16% or so. But in the higher latitudes and in the northern India, Jammu Kashmir, all those places, it is going to be around 20% reduction is expected. If you just see globally, most of the parts in the southern hemisphere as well as in the lower latitudes of the northern hemisphere, the crop production is going to be on the negative side. But at the same time, in the upper latitudes, it is going to have some positivity because of the changing climatic condition. So this is one of the model predicted kind of a result, but the same thing is expected by all the experts also. Okay, one small example, impact of climate variability on Indian agriculture, especially on the rice crop. Just a sensitivity analysis, what would happen to the rice yield if just a 2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature is there? So it says that there is going to be decrease in cropping area, there will be plateau in yield, because of the extremities, and there will be frequent crop failures due to extreme weather events. You can just see here like the percentage reduction in rice yield in different times of the growing period. If the 2 degrees Celsius happens in emerging phase, it will have least impact on rice productivity. But if it happens in panicle initiation, flowering or grain filling stage, the impact will be very high. There will be 25% yield reduction for 2 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. So it is not that the temperature is increasing, it is also important at what particular phenophase of the crop the increase is happening. So this is what is the results. Just on the water sector, what impact it will have on the water sector? Demand for irrigation water would increase with rise in temperature. We know that the temperature effect is cooled down because of the evapotranspiration that is happening in the plant. So to keep the body temperature cool, the plant has to absorb more moisture and then it has to transpire it through the stomata. So when a crop is cultivated, I'll just quote an example of rice crop. If a rice crop is cultivated with 1200 millimeters of water in the current climatic condition, it might require 1450 to 1500 millimeters of water in the future climatic conditions. So not only that, the crop water requirement is increasing. Not only that, there will be significant increase in runoff, because there will be more of a flood-like situation and drought-like situation. During the drought time, the soil will get hardened and the infiltration capacity will get loosened. But during the flood time, all the water that falls on the land will just go as a runoff. So there will be increase in runoff. And then another important thing is there will be increase in frequency of duration of flood. The water balance will be disturbed and the quality of groundwater will also get impacted. So these are all impacts on the water sector. So I was just telling about how much irrigation water is will be required. So this was a thesis work done by Bhuvaneshwari, and she has predicted that this is compared to the middle century and end century, compared to the current condition, it will be something like the 8.1% increase in the water requirement is expected in the middle century, and at the end century, something around close to 15% increased water is required. Already people are fighting for water from state to state. The water sharing, because of the sharing of water, lot of issues are going on. So we have to find some alternate management technologies so that we keep the water demand either in the current condition or try to reduce the water demand for the crops, so that additional areas could be brought into the irrigation. So this is the study done at our university. Next one is soil. What would happen? Soil is the production base. So organic matter content of the soil is very low. In the tropical soil, it is just 0.6%. The organic carbon content is just 0.6%. So when we just look into the CN ratio, it is very high. The crop residues under the elevated carbon dioxide concentration, this will have higher CN ratio. Higher CN ratio means naturally the digestibility of the residues will get time. So the decomposition rate will be slower with higher CN ratio. With the rise in soil temperature, it will increase N mineralization, but the availability of the N will get decreased because of the loss of nitrogen through nitrous oxide. So that is the base, that is the very important thing which we need to consider. So volatilization, denitrification, all these things will lead to low nitrogen use efficiency. There may be change in rainfall that will lead to soil erosion also. So when the top soil with a lot of nutrients are eroded out, naturally it will lead to low soil productivity and low soil health. Rise in sea level, seawater intrusion will be there. That is a direct impact. The secondary impact is the secondary salinization through seepage of water underground. The secondary salinization will happen. So all these things put together will definitely impact the soil on a negative way. So impact of climate change on the livestock. Climate change will affect fodder production and nutritional security of the livestock. Increased temperature would enhance lignification of the plant tissues. That means the plant tissues will become very hot. It will reduce the digestibility. Increased water scarcity would also decrease the production of feed and fodder. So sometimes we may have to think of growing hydroponics in the scarce situation, but that again, right now it is not cost effective. So we have to think of alternate way of producing fodder. Major impacts on vector-borne diseases, especially for the livestock. Vector-borne diseases will play a major crucial role in reducing its productivity. Global warming would increase water, shelter, and energy requirement of the livestock for meeting the projected milk demands. And climate change is likely to aggravate the heat stress in dairy animals, especially the milk yield will go down. And in the case of poultry, the meat and egg production will also go down. So these are all some of the impacts on the livestock sector. Okay, just let's see what are the key adaptation strategies. One is assisting farmers in coping with current climatic risks. So a lot of capacity building need to be done. Intensifying food production systems. So we have to include, we should take more area that is current fallow or the permanent fallow that should be brought under cultivation. Improving land and water management is a crucial issue. There should be enabling policies. So the policies of the government should be pro towards the changing climatic condition. Strengthening the adaptation research. Right now, for the research, India is giving only very small portion of the money. So that research grant need to be increased. Then we need to think of carbon sequestration in all possible ways, especially in a productive way, the carbon need to be sequestered. So some of the adaptation technologies, first one is weather-based farming decisions. So Bhuvana was indicating like automated agro advisory services. In that, now we are going one step ahead, like to the needy farmers, the needy information only will go. It will not be generalized production. It will be specific to the specific crop and specific need of the farmers. So location specific, tailor-made automated agro advisory services is really order of the day that Tamil Nadu Agricultural University has started practicing, and we are giving advisory to almost 20 to 25% of the farming community in Tamil Nadu right now. We are planning to expand it quite soon to all the 100% of the farming community. Second one is improving the water use efficiency. So the water use efficiency has to be improved. That can be done in many ways. One is application efficiency need to be increased. Second one is conveyance efficiency. Third one is giving demand-based irrigation rather than supply-based irrigation. So these are the three ways by which we can increase the water use efficiency. So one such example is system of rice intensification. This is one of the technology which qualifies for the climate resilient farming system. So in this, almost 25% of the water requirement is reduced. At the same time, the yield is increased by something 18 to 20% yield is also increasing. So we have proved this with many experiments, and the component technologies are growing young seedlings, that is planting young seedlings. 12 to 13 days old seedlings are planted, and single seedling is planted, and alternate wetting and drying irrigation system is followed, and finally cono-weeding is done. So this actually helps in improving the rice yield to the tune of 18 to 20% with a 25% lesser water usage. Next one is potential soil, protecting soil health and improving nutrient use efficiency. So instead of going for blanket application, soil test based nutrient application and timely fertilizer application, not overusing of fertilizer, and growing with some of the growth promoters like Panchakavya, all those things, using vermicompost, azolla, the kind of a circularity within the farming system, like integrated farming system. Those things will definitely increase the soil health as well as nutrient use efficiency. Next one is environmental protection. So instead of going with the complete chemical farming, everything need to be with integrated management. For example, integrated pest management. We can use pheromone traps. We can use parasitoids. We can use egg carts, which are, for example, trichogramma egg carts. So all those integrated management of pests and diseases against chemical spray, this would help in reducing the greenhouse gas emission. At the same time, if we use only the chemicals, the resurgence will happen. So to avoid that, integrated management is always order of the day. Then next one is like carbon offsets. So in the case of carbon offsets, enhancing carbon stock in the soil through stubble management, green manure, biogas slurry application, livestock manure management, and vermicomposting. So this will increase the carbon stock in the soil. Then promoting microbial technologies. This is mainly to minimize the emission of methane and nitrous oxide from rice farming and thereby minimizing carbon footprints. Then finally, developing carbon offsets, carbon credits for eco-friendly technologies to promote them under carbon trading platform. One important use of this is alternate wetting and drying system of irrigation. So this has been qualified as carbon offset technology. So through which the farmers can, if they register under carbon credit, they can have something like 1,500 to 2,000 rupees additional income as a carbon credit. So that is also possible. So financial incentives to the farm families for their ecosystem services will also be provided. So these are all some of the evidences like how methane emission could be reduced with the conventional alternate wetting and drying and system of rice intensification, and how what is the relationship between carbon footprint and grain yield and water productivity. So through our PhD students, we have standardized everything, and it says that the SRI system of rice intensification qualifies better compared to the conventional system. So that is what is the results. So coming to the GHG mitigation, action to reduce and avoid GHG emissions and enhancing sink. One is reducing GHG emission, that is by good management practices, good agricultural practices, which is called the GAP. Then replacing or avoiding GHG emission, that is also another good agricultural practice. That means we have to curtail all the faulty practices like emission from the industries and so on. Then enhancing carbon sinks by growing trees and green cover throughout the country. So this is one of the way of carbon sequestration, carbon capturing and sequestering. There are many ways by which it could be done. Terrestrial biosphere or underground geological formation and putting the carbon dioxide into the ocean. There are many ways the carbon could be sequestered, but it should be cost effective and it should be practically possible. Those things could be very well adapted. So these are all some of the things which are meant for terrestrial carbon sequestration. Terrestrial carbon sequestration can be mainly thought of through the terrestrial vegetation, especially the woody plants, which will not get degraded soon. So that is the most important thing. Coming to the agricultural practices for carbon sequestration, focus on maximizing carbon input. So that actually says about plant selection, growth habit of the plants, mainly perennial, rotation of the things, and so on. Focus on minimizing carbon loss from the soil should also be there, reducing the soil disturbance, utilizing available soil water, maintaining the surface residue cover. All those things need to be taken care of. So water and soil are the base, so that need to be managed in a more healthier and more practical way. So no regrets option. What are the no regrets option? As I said, stop burning the crop residues. So that will be the no regret option. You can just see here in the picture how much carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide are entering into the atmosphere because of the burning of the biomass. So that need to be reduced. Then go with cover crops. So the cover crops will maintain the soil health. Soil erosion will be reduced. At the same time, it will also save the moisture into the soil itself. Another important thing is agroforestry. Agroforestry, growing trees and crops simultaneously, that will help in creating favorable microclimate, and that will also help in improving both yield as well as crop yield as well as tree yield. So these are all some of the no regret options. So the food production, adaptation, mitigation, environmental co-benefit, everything is achieved by this no regret option. So to conclude, climate change is a reality. We cannot say it's a myth anymore. It is a reality. Indian agriculture is likely to suffer losses because of the heat, erratic weather, and decreased irrigation availability. adaptation strategies can help minimizing the negative impacts. So location-specific adaptation options need to be identified and it need to be popularized among the farming community. These needs research, funding, and policy support. Cost of adaptation and mitigation are unknown, but likely to be very high compared to no action. Cost of inaction could be even higher. Start with the no regret adaptation options to protect your environment and enhance the productivity of the crops. So thank you so much. I stop here and I invite, if there are any questions, I invite. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are two questions, ma'am. First
Yeah.
question is there any difference in the influence of elevated carbon dioxide on variety and hybrid? By Dr. Vinod.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, definitely there is a variation with the elevated temperature and carbon dioxide with varieties. There are some varieties which are temperature sensitive, and there are few varieties which are even responding to increase in carbon dioxide. So there is definitely varietal difference is there. Now the breeders are choosing that kind of lines so that it would perform very well under the changing climatic condition. So right now, what they are doing is they are doing some speed breeding kind of activities by which they are creating environment so that they can see how the genes are actually expressing itself under different environmental condition. So based on that, they do some upregulation of gene or downregulation of gene so that they are modifying it at the gene level and trying to infuse some of the desired characters in the varieties that are coming. The thing is the synthetic varieties, we call it as synthetic varieties. So those varieties, we are based on the desired characters, the varieties are being created for the future time slices. So thanks for your question, Ma.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The second question is, it's possible climate change can back to normal as 20 years before, by Dr. Vinod.
Okay. No, the answer would be no, because whatever the concentration of greenhouse gases already present in the atmosphere is sufficient enough to warm the atmosphere for the next 50 years. So even if you don't put one single molecule extra into the atmosphere, also the climate change will happen in the next 50 years. So we have already done enough damage to the system, but only thing is now we have to revive it back, and then by planting more trees, by following good agricultural practices. So, but one thing is we have to keep a balance. In one way, we are increasing our population and we are increasing the food demand. So we need to produce more. At the same time, it has to be on an environmentally safety way. So those things need to be considered, and we need to keep a balance. So my answer is no, we cannot bring it back, but at the same time, we need to start acting on the changes so that we can reduce the losses and we can reduce the impact.
Thank you, ma'am.
Madam, thank you, madam. One more question, madam. This is Dr. Vinod. Yeah. Madam, actually, the seasons, previously we have in our forefather, they are based on the rainfall. They are kept for some seasons, like for the Purvai, Sambat, already like that, based on the rainfall seasons. But now seasons, climate change, the seasons are now changed. Rainfall is not coming for the proper seasons. Yeah. Still, we are following the same seasons. We want to go for means based on the rainfall. We can modify the seasons, or we can follow for the SH.
No. You cannot follow the old kind of things. We have to redefine the agroclimatic conditions and the seasons as such. You know, like in many places, there is a shift in rainfall that is occurring. Even our own analysis says that some of the rainfall that used to come in the northeast monsoon season, that gets shifted to cold weather period, and some of the summer rainfall is getting shifted to southwest monsoon. So there is a lot of seasonal changes are happening. So this need to be thoroughly analyzed, and we have to redefine our agroclimatic zones. So I think the government is taking proper action on that. So last year they have given STIP, Science Technology Innovation Policy of 2020, which will be followed for the next 10 years. I was was even the co-chair for one of the TG20, that is for agriculture, water and food security. I was the co-chair for creating the STIP 2020 policy. So we have been discussing a lot about this kind of redefining the agroclimatic zones and redefining the patterns and so on through thorough understanding of the climate and analyzing the past weather, projecting the future weather. So the work is going on. We cannot anymore follow only the traditional way of things because the things are getting changed.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And one more question, ma'am.
Yeah.
From Dr. Periyasamy Nagappan. What is the social security of the farmers if same scenario of climate change happens in farming and farmers' life of alternative breed-winning activities?
Great. That's a very great question. And I like that question very much because at the end of the day, it is the life threat for the farming community. So the best rescue is risk transfer mechanism. Okay. Risk transfer mechanism means it is crop insurance, making crop insurance as a mandatory to both loany farmers as well as non-loany farmers. So that will actually help them, at least though not the 100% protection, it will keep them in agriculture and it will compensate the losses to a certain extent. So the proper designing of crop insurance products need to be done, and that is the major interventions the government is going to take it up. Already Prime Minister Fasal Bima Yojana program or in practice now the weather-based crop insurance program and then picture-based crop insurance program. Previously, only if the bigger area is affected, those farmers will get the crop insurance. Now individual farm level insurance, these are all order of the day. So I think crop insurance is one of the important social security that would happen in the times to come with the changing climatic condition.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a very wonderful lecture. Now we call upon Dr. R. Gautam, State Secretary, Environmental Cell, to give vote of thanks to the gathering.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm good afternoon to one and all. I'm very honored to vote of thanks this first state environmental. First and foremost, to the chief guest, Director of Crop University, Dr. V. Geeta Lakshmi, who, in spite of a very busy schedule, has spent her time for us and given us an intriguing talk about climate change. Thank you, ma'am. Your lecture was an eye-opener. I would also like to take this chance to thank Dr. Sagadev Singh, Chief Policy Advisor of ISA, for facilitating this August gathering. Finally, I would like to thank all the participants for their immense support and turn up for this first meet. On behalf of ISA Tamil Nadu chapter and our family of State Environmental Council, I would like to thank each and everyone for showing their interest in participating in this lecture. I would also like to say that in the future, we would be organizing a lot of training programs like what Dr. Bhuvaneshwari suggested. And we'll also be providing you with the lecture, with the schedule of our training date-wise throughout the year for the next academic year. It will be posted to you soon. And please, everyone, stay in touch with us. We would like to extend the service of enriching your knowledge in the field of environment and climate change for the future. Thank you one and all for attending this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Sagadev Singh, sir, and Vice President and National Secretary. Thank you all the participants. Gugan. Please prepare this schedule of all the lectures of the date wise. The register participants, those are registered participants. You can send it for them. We can conduct